Speakers at the first ever Resilience Symposium were given the question of how to become resilient.
So when my son started struggling with anxiety, I wasn't sure how to help him. I wasn't familiar with the feeling of being afraid to face whatever the day was going to throw at me. My resilience is one of my most deeply held values, but how did I get that way? Was I born with it? Was it taught to me? Did I earn it over time? And how do I raise my children to be the kind of people who also value their resilience and always, always get back up?
Guest speakers from all walks of life told compelling stories about their own life experiences and how they used resilience in order to bounce back. But it was never easy.
That day ended up being quite a traumatic day. That day, when it was all said and done, my clothes had been ripped off of me. My entire home was destroyed. There was holes in all the walls. I had been dragged down the hallway back and forth by my hair. And all of this happened for hours. And it all happened in front of my children.
We were driving on the freeway, and as we got close to the city, we were stopped in traffic because there was a crash up the road. The squeal of brakes pierced my ears, and then nothing. I woke up dazed and confused. I stumbled out of the truck. People were running towards me, yelling things I couldn't understand. My senses slowly started coming back to me, and I realized what had happened. My dad and I had been hit by a semi-truck that had not slowed down for traffic. The impact had such force that it had thrown our truck, with my dad and I in it, nearly 200 feet away.
I fell asleep on the wheel. And the minivan rolled. I'm not sure how many times it rolled, but it rolled through the highway, and my parents were thrown out of the vehicle. My brother Brooke was thrown out of the vehicle. My sister Diana was thrown out of the vehicle. My sister Diana was 5 years old, was killed immediately. My brother and my parents were hanging on to dear life. And I'm going crazy.
We were tough Green Berets. But behind that face and that smile and that beard and all the other things I wore, the armor, helmet, night vision, turbans, whatever it was, there was a lot going on in here. Despite our training, despite our unity as a team, we did things that were not normal. Is it normal to go into someone else's house in the middle of the night and kick down their doors and throw their wife and their children and pull their dad out of the house? Is that normal?
I think resilience means reaching out to others for help. A lot of it has to do with understanding that I can only do so much on my own. And it was very difficult for me to reach out for help.
We always seem to think, oh, if this happens, I would do this. I would do this. Well, and that's great to have a plan, but I've found that until it does happen, we don't know, and we can't judge others because we're not going through those things. So, my biggest advice I would give is to embrace change, expect it.
And that's just what they did. Despite their struggles, they became resilient to overcome.
I am working with visionary leaders around the world, domestic violence survivors and human trafficking survivors, on a high level and also on a local level as well. And they too are we are all breaking this cycle of domestic violence.
Resilience is how well we recover from these unexpected alterations to our lives. In other words, resilience is learning to live again. But what about when we never reach our goals? What happens when a semi-truck hits you and you're forever changed? Now listen, because this is important. Resilience does not pertain to any accomplishments. It's a process and a mindset. We will all fall short a countless number of times, but with a resilient mindset, we can become better than we were the day before. Talking about hardships and addressing them to friends, coworkers, and loved ones will help uplift you.
You know, I had already come out to my parents and they were skeptical and kind of quiet on the matter. But I talked with my mom and let her know that I needed help, more help than I was getting.
And sometimes that means refocusing and using that resilience to help others.
School counselors, despite their best efforts, they are there to help kids graduate. They're not necessarily geared, equipped, trained, licensed to deal with the emotional and mental obstacles that students confront daily. School Pulse is a text-based platform. We put positive psychology at the fingertips of our students. We find that therapy, for the most part, is simply listening, and then guiding the conversation to a warm handoff with a trusted, in-person adult. Unexpected obstacles emerge. Life does not go as you plan for it to go all the time, and that is okay.
Music is the fruit of love. Music is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. It gets to the soul real quick, all right? That you can try to say something, and music tells the story for the unspoken and the unheard. And two people that do not speak the same language can understand the same song and what it does to the body.
Keynote speaker Lenore Skenazy has been labeled in the past as America's worst mom because she allowed her 9-year-old son to ride home by himself on the New York subway system. She said she did it to allow him his independence, which creates resilience.
That was my crime. My crime was trusting my child to be okay on his own for a little while and not saying, what if something terrible happened? Oh my God, I could never forgive myself. Forget it. And then not letting him do it. And that has become the hallmark of good American parenting, is that you're supposed to imagine, I call it worst first thinking. Go to the very worst case first, the worst case scenario, and then work your way backwards to the point where you go, nah, that's not it. You can't do it. And so that was my big revelation.
Using her own experience, Skenazy began a new concept called Let Grow.
So one of them is the Let Grow project, where kids are given the homework assignment from their school, go home and do something on your own without your parents. And it's really a homework assignment for the parents, because the parents go, huh, I can't come with you? No, Mom, you can't come with me, sorry. The teacher said I'm supposed to do this by myself. And so they go and they ride their bike, they bake a cake, they go to a neighbor, they go to the park, they do it with their friends. And it breaks the ice of fear, because the feeling of seeing your kid leave is scary, and seeing your kid come home transforms you. It's like when Izzy came in, excited about having done something on his own. He's a new person to me too. He's a kid who can do things. And we deprive ourselves as parents of that joy and that transformation when we're always with them, because we never get to see how competent they can be.
Skenazy believes it's up to the rest of us to take that stand and be understanding and strong for others while the growth is taking place.
And so I would beg you, and I'm at the point of begging now, because it is 15 years and the 9-year-old subway rider is obviously 24, that's 15, to really consider bringing some of these ideas into your life, and especially into your school, into psychology, into the counselor's office, into anybody here who's studying to be a teacher or a psychologist or any kind of counselor. Think about, go to letgrow.org, or if you have to find me, look at America's Worst Mom. Raise a free-range, let grow kid, and thank you so much, and thank you for bringing me to your beautiful town.